Okay, here we are. What is it? Marvel Monday. We're continuing our series. We are watching all 23 movies in the order they were released. Here with me is Amy Goldman, eating pretzels, and Joel Fenster, still in his Doctor Strange room. Mark Gartner, he got ants in his bathroom. And of course, Annie King is with us. And of course, Nick Prescott is MIA. And all of us watched this movie, some of us just 5 minutes ago. And this is MCU number 12, Ant-Man from 2015, the final chapter in phase 2 of the MCU, and we are halfway done. Halfway done. We'll start, as always, with last week's after credit sequence, which was Thanos saying, "I'll do it myself," right? Nothing here. No.
Move on.
And even though Ant-Man is one of the original Avengers in the comic books, it is all Edgar Wright's fault that we haven't seen him until now. Joel?
I wouldn't necessarily blame Edgar Wright.
It is his fault.
Okay, fine.
It takes 12 years to write a movie.
Well, it's not that he took 12 years to write a movie. He took the time to make the movie what he wanted it to be in conjunction with Marvel, who kept asking him to make changes. And eventually he just was like, you know what? I think as much as I want to make a Marvel movie, I'm not sure you guys want to make an Edgar Wright movie. So,
but I think the thing is, I don't, for an origin story,
mm-hmm.
I don't think there's that much Avengers crap in there. Like the studio said, you have to put in X, Y, and Z. But I think the main focus here is Ant-Man. So what was his problem?
I would agree. Honestly, beyond what I just said, I don't know the exact problems. I have not been able to get my hands on earlier drafts of the script to take a look at and read, which I would love to do at some point. But I think part of the problem is, before I say anything else, I love the movie. I enjoy it. It's fun. I'm not going to give my rating till I get to that point where you ask me, but
sure.
It really is. We talk about formulaic films, things like, it's trying to fit into the James Bond formula, this type of formula. This is very much Iron Man Redux, just smaller, right down to, it's the, well, you've got guy in suit doing stuff, fighting, business partner in suit. It's very
Iron Man-ish.
Yeah, in that sense.
Yes, but I believe that Pym said very specifically, this is not some cute technology like the Iron Man suit.
Right, it's not. It's cuter because it's smaller.
But I also felt that this movie had a more like a caper vibe, like Mission Impossible or Ocean's 11. Maybe this
very
was
much
Ocean's 4.
And that comes out of some of what Edgar Wright did. I mean, he still does have a screenplay credit.
I think it would have been better if you said Edgar Wright wrote.
Edgar Wright wrote. Well, he did to an extent, and then he stopped.
Well, yeah, and I totally loved Baby Driver. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
That was him?
Yeah, and that certainly is a heist caper thing.
Sure.
So this Ant-Man, unlike some of the other superhero ones, is actually from a later version, not the original version of Ant-Man. So the original version was the Michael Douglas character, Hank Pym, was Ant-Man, and he obviously alludes to it in this movie, that he was Ant-Man. But it's very funny to me because he's like, what is it called? The Pym particles are dangerous. And he's trying to convince Paul Rudd to take on the suit. He's like, I don't know, it's a little dangerous. He's like, oh, you want this guy to do this, don't you? Why are you trying to talk him out of it? So, well, let me go back. So the movie starts out in 1989. Michael Douglas was de-aged for the sequence, and he looked great. It really was a beautiful job.
It was like watching Wall Street. Him and the guy he punched, they looked so good.
It was like watching Michael Douglas instead of Kirk Douglas.
Wow. And then we see the title says present day, which we need because we might get confused because Paul Rudd looks exactly the same as he did in 1989. So
True story.
could have been a
True
little
story.
confusing. Then, and Paul Rudd is such a great choice. He really is. So charismatic, so funny. And it's great that his superhero is not like a squeaky clean Captain America. He's obviously a felon, ex-con and all, but you can't take Paul Rudd seriously in jail. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
You know, he would be somebody's bitch from day one. He's not a tough guy at all. And like every man who ever got a role in the MCU, he worked out for months to get that body.
I think he said, I think he was quoted by saying, I took the Chris Pratt route and basically stopped eating anything fun for a full year. I lost like 40 pounds and became a superhero. So
Yeah,
yeah.
he got shredded there. And then
Yeah.
I'm sure he's his old doughy self by now.
Well, he's got a third movie coming up, so
Right. He's got to get back to it.
yeah.
And Judy Greer plays his wife. I don't know why. She's so funny and she's so good and she's completely wasted here. Evangeline Lilly is just hanging around waiting for the sequel. She's like, I'm waiting. I'm going to do a better movie. But the best performance award absolutely goes to Michael Pena because
Oh, God.
him
Yeah.
telling those two stories at the beginning and
Brilliant.
end.
I almost rewound them.
Oh my God, just brilliant. But isn't that I looked up Drunk History came before this movie. So they kind of co-opted that idea of him telling the story and everybody mocking his words.
Right.
But so funny, so funny. And the best part of the whole thing was that when Stan Lee did his cameo, at least they got rid of his voice.
Right.
Right,
That's 50% of the problem.
right.
So that's good.
Or Stanley.
And so then Scott, because he's a genius, like every superhero, he MacGyvers the safe or Mission Impossible the safe, whatever you want to say. And so that whole sequence with the fingerprint and everything, I'm like, wow. I'm like, who thinks this shit up? It was
Right.
hysterical to me.
National treasure.
Oh,
Is it? I don't know. Was it? All right.
Nicolas Cage. You never saw that one?
That's a good one.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good
see
movie,
that
Frank.
one.
You should add to your list.
Well, you could
So-
do it for your sequel Tuesdays or whatever. 'cause there's
Right,
two of them.
right.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
okay. It's sequel Saturday.
But I can't remember. I don't know what day of the week it is right now.
What National Treasures?
Television Tuesday.
Three of them.
Not. Oh, there's three of them.
There's three of them? I missed one.
Wow.
Right? There's three.
All right. So at one point, Hank is explaining it to the Ant-Man, and the Ant-Man's like, I don't understand. And Hank says, I don't expect you to. And you know why? Because he's not telling him the whole story. He's like, I'm gonna wait for maybe an hour later and I'll tell you the rest. And then the funny thing with the ant, who he called Anthony,
Me.
yeah. And he says they don't have names. This one is number 247, but he says there's millions of ants. How is number 247 still alive?
Well,
It
you
should
know,
be-
as they die off, he keeps renumbering them.
Oh, sure. There you go.
I like it. And of course, how does he communicate with the ants? The same way Aquaman communicates with fish. Woo. Right?
Well, he needs the thing too.
Yeah, Aquaman doesn't need a thing in his ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ant-Man needs a thing.
Okay, and of course, this is the thing I've said every single week, and they address it right here when
Where are
Scott,
the Avengers?
Scott says the first thing we should do is call the Avengers. And
I
then
thought of you.
Well,
Hank says they're probably busy making a city fall from the sky, which we just saw in the last movie.
And
But,
Joel or Mark, one of you commented on sometime on Facebook during the week where one of you said there's like a slight tiny reference to the previous week. And I thought, oh, that was it. It was great.
Although it was Ultron who made the cities fall from the sky, not,
Well, they were saving the city from falling from the sky.
yes.
Attempt-
So
attempting.
then, wouldn't it be like if they're gonna do like the X-Men did when they did the First Class? Like they could go back and it could be Hank Pym versus, what's the Stark guy's name? I don't even know his first name.
Howard.
Howard Stark?
Howard Stark. Because obviously they're rivals. They don't like each other.
Yeah.
I definitely got the vibe that he was not the fan.
Well, I'm not saying meh to that. I was like, who cares? Let's keep moving
And-
forward.
And that was definitely Agent Carter, right?
Yes, that was a Peggy
Yes.
Carter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they aged her up a little bit to make her look older. I really don't know why they had to de-age the other guy. Just put makeup on him. Who cares?
Yeah.
Get a young person and put makeup in the other scene. It wasn't like he was Michael Douglas. And of course, we had to have one of the Avengers, at least in the movie, right? But why was the Falcon the only Avenger home?
Well, if you think about it, it doesn't quite work out, but if you think about it, Falcon's the only Avenger missing from the action in Age of Ultron.
Oh, he was?
Yeah,
So he stayed home to watch the place.
exactly. Not that he was an Avenger at that point anyway, but he's in the movie at the beginning and then you don't see him again. You see everybody at the end. War Machine's there, but
He's in the very, very last
he's
scene.
in the very, very
Right.
end.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I guess the widescreen is only so wide.
right.
And then later, Scott says, I fought an Avenger. Okay, technically, Falcon is an Avenger, but like Hawkeye is an Avenger.
Yeah.
Not really.
I think
Really
Falcon is a
have.
little more important than Hawkeye.
Doesn't
And
really
didn't we
have-
establish post credits last week that these are like the new up and coming Avengers, including?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Avengers: The Next Generation?
Right.
the West Coast Avengers. That's actually a real thing in the
Yeah,
comic.
yeah,
books.
exactly.
It is?
Yeah.
Like Biggie and Tupac?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
But it had like all the rejects kind of.
Yeah, it was Hawkeye was part of it.
Yeah.
Wonder
Yeah, yeah.
Man.
Wonder Man, yeah.
Okay, so there were definitely some things in this movie I would probably attribute to Edgar Wright. One thing being the bug zapper, which was hysterically funny. That was such a brilliant move,
Mhm.
really. And the other thing was Thomas the Tank. That whole segment was so brilliant, especially when you get all this pyrotechnic thing going on and all the big noise and the music and everything, and then you see the train fall up. Beep.
Right.
Oh my
Line
God.
7 in my notes.
Oh my God. That was hysterical.
You type up your notes?
Only today, because last week I hand wrote them. I'm like, this is for the birds.
Oh,
Wow.
whoa. That is typed up. Yeah.
I wrote it on an old piece of mail.
All right, so I'm gonna say, and in my review of things, I definitely enjoyed this movie. I'm going with 3 stars. I think that, like Joel said, there's something that just was a little Iron Man redux for me, and it felt a little been there, done that, but yeah, and but at the same time, it was fun. The battles didn't go on too long, and Paul Rudd is just too fucking adorable for words. So
Yeah.
I'm going with 3 stars. Annie, you want to go next?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was, for me, it was 3.25. And I thought it was a lot of fun. Paul Rudd is great. The only thing was like, did they really have to throw in the romance at the last second? Could have
Right.
waited for the next, the sequel. That I thought was kind of silly.
Yep.
But other than that, everything else about it was a lot of fun, except for all those lambs getting blobbed. That was like, oh,
I know.
big blob now.
I know. And did you read it? Did you read any of the IMDb trivia? One of the trivias was the day they shot one of the lambs being zapped, catering just happened to serve lamb chops that day.
Oh,
Very awkward lunch.
That's great.
I would not think that's true. Who's gonna
I'm
serve
kind of,
lamb?
I'm like 60-40 on that one.
Nah. It's a funny story, but I don't believe it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's, I just, it was enjoyable as a creation story.
yeah, I
It did
liked
its job, yeah.
Yeah, it
so,
was a fun origin story for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mark G.
I'm also going 3.25 stars. I wanted to go a little higher, but then and I know Joel will appreciate this, well, and Annie, because we've seen all these before. I know it's coming up. So if I can't give everything 4 stars, so it was a very fun movie. And like I said last week, and like Frank said at the beginning, Michael Pena, movie would have been great, a great installment with Adam, but he just elevated it. He brought the funny. And I did read a little trivia on it that he actually, the cadence that he spoke in and the constant grin and smiling face, he modeled that after a friend of his. So that person actually exists out there.
Oh,
Rest of the cast, Paul Rudd, everybody was great as well. I'm a sucker for a caper and a heist, and this was just Ocean's 11 and Italian Job. Well, the remakes, of course, because I don't watch that old shit.
well, actually, Ocean 4, because there was only 4 of them.
It's true. It's true. No, I just mean movies like that. In that same vein, I could watch those all the time. I enjoyed the smaller scale of the movie, and I know, Frank, you like to pick on it, but to me, it was a nice tie-in to the Avengers, the very beginning of the movie with Stark, and then midway through with the Falcon. It ties it, and at the very, very end, when Falcon wants to talk to him, I thought it was cute, but it also stood on its own as a standalone movie, and it was an origin story, so you can't have everybody in there for the origin story, in my opinion. So I think they did it well. That's really it. It was a fun movie.
Well, I think again, with the mocking the Iron Man thing, when he had to, for some inexplicable reason, go through the keyhole, and that happened like 3 times, totally made me think of creating the suit in Iron
Oh,
Man.
yeah.
Oh, okay, it's a variation of that.
And,
Yeah.
and like you said, I mean, it is Marvel. There's going to be, that trick worked, so let's use it again, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Aim.
Unfortunately, my notes are really just, I'm not even going to read them because it was just little moments that I just thought were so adorable, but it
Well,
doesn't
tell
matter.
us them. We'd like to know. Go ahead.
Well, okay,
We
every
can't go
week-
under 30 minutes.
that's true. Every week I
God
forget to,
forbid.
right. Every week I do forget to say how much I love the opening title sequence with the comic book. I love it every week. I look so forward to seeing that.
It just keeps getting longer and longer, doesn't it?
Oh, I don't think
Oh.
so.
That's what she said.
Oh.
Uh,
Ah,
They just
Uh,
keep changing the pictures based on the movies. That's all.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. It seems
The
longer.
ants- The ants doing the countdown in the jail cell, 10, 9, 8, adorable. The ants pushing the sugar cube and then turning around when he says, you know what, I'm okay.
The countdown, I didn't get at first. I'm like, wow.
Oh my God, they're counting down. He's got to get the suit on before they come.
Yeah, like he got that suit on in 10 seconds. Paul,
Yeah,
Lee.
right.
Yes.
Talking to the ants is so corny, and the fact that they could accomplish so much so quickly in the bad guys building was ridiculous. If that makes sense to everybody at this
Yeah,
point.
but they're magical ants.
Yeah, I guess so. And at first I was like, why doesn't he just go in somebody's pocket? I forgot that the whole army has to come with him. Paxton was so annoyingly one-dimensional and so hell-bent on putting Scott in jail. It was ridiculous. That character was just all he sees is this one thing. It's so annoying. Hated
And
him.
why they felt they needed somebody so good as Bodhi Cannavale.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Some people just like a paycheck.
Yeah, right. The sound effect of Ant-Man hitting Yellow Jacket, it sounded like a ping pong ball, just like you were saying before, Frank. And then he made this little squee sound before he went into the zapper. But the question that I have was, why didn't the zapper kill him? And how did he get out of it? I missed something there.
The electric, I think, actually rejuvenated him.
Oh,
Yeah, and he's in
It's-
a
it's-
protective suit anyway. So
Yes, so
Very
it
powerful
kind of
suit.
stunned him for that second, but
okay.
then he got rejuvenated.
Okay.
That was
it.
what
That-
I,
No,
that's
that makes
what I
perfect sense because he hit it and he seemed to be stunned or dead,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden he zapped. So I thought, oh, so now I get it. And the only other thing is the ant as a pet dog at the end killed me.
That was pretty funny.
So I can see why some fanboys would hate this movie, but of course, you know, I loved it. I had seen it before. I had zero memory of it. So I give it 3.5 stars. Easy, easy. I loved it.
And what would you have given it if you had remembered it?
3.75 stars. No, I don't know.
No, I actually had seen this before as
Yeah. And I said the same thing last week about Guardians of the Galaxy. I saw it and I remember 2 things from it. So it's definitely more interesting now following along because none of the Marvel stuff made any sense to me. And it didn't matter to me when I saw Ant-Man, which is why I loved it so much. It was
yeah, I have to say that too, that I think I said this already, when I watched the last 2 Avengers movies, I actually watched the YouTube thing. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
But this, you really don't need it, but it was
Right.
nice to know the other things. Joel?
You know, as I said earlier, it's a fun film. I really enjoy it from a comic book standpoint. I like the fact that they did get both Ant-Men into a story, so that you do get the Hank Pym background without all the baggage from the comic books, because it gets very convoluted with him, even though he's one of the original Avengers. He's the one who created Ultron in the comic books, not Tony Stark. He's a drunk at one point. He's a wife beater. You know, he goes all over the place. And he's not Ant-Man for very long. He becomes Giant Man after a few issues, and then he eventually becomes Goliath and then Yellow Jacket before anybody else becomes Yellow Jacket. So, but it was nice to at least acknowledge Hank started this thing. Scott's the character that came in, I think, in the late 70s, early 80s as a replacement of sorts, because Hank is still around in the Marvel universe. I don't know who he is right now, but
He's Michael Douglas.
he's like, well, in the comic books, I don't know what his name is other than Hank Pym. But the caper aspect is definitely a great way to go with this, to give it something different from previous films. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I'm gonna give it 3.25, like Annie and Mark. Can't give everything 4 stars, but this wouldn't be a 4-star movie for me anyway. So
Yeah, and one of the things you said, it's more like a caper. I forgot to mention while I was watching, I thought I really enjoyed this because it's not such a heavy superhero movie, which I've never been a huge fan of anyway. So the ones that are lighter and just easier to follow for me.
Especially after the last movie with the big battle and everything with all the different heroes fighting. It was nice to just kind of shrink things down.
Yeah, literally shrink things down. Give me
especially
4
since the next
characters.
movie is gonna expand it all again.
Oh, Frank, you want a crossover? Wait for the next Captain America movie next week. It's not a Captain America. It's Avengers 3.
I don't mind it, but because it just feels like, because there's so many characters, then we get a 3-hour movie with a little snippet of everybody.
Yeah.
This was great because it was Ant-Man.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love Avengers movies. I love when you bring all completely different characters into a movie. It just becomes hard to follow when there's like 34 bad guys on top of it.
Right.
You won't have that problem next week. There's
No.
one bad guy.
Oh, that won't have. Okay, good.
And speaking of bad guys, this bad guy, I don't know his name, but he was pretty creepy. And I've seen him in other shows. But
Yeah, I
Oh,
looked him
yeah?
up. He had a good look, but I looked him up, and I don't think I've seen him in anything else really. That
he was in the Kevin Spacey,
Well, they're creepy right there.
the White House thing with that thing.
Oh, House of Cards. Yes, he was on House of Cards.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Corey
All right.
Stahl is his name, by the way.
What's
What
his
is
name?
Corey Stahl.
Oh.
And he did.
Yeah, he did.
All right. So anything else? Last comments? We're good? Okay.
just,
Post credit.
wait. I was just gonna say I just wanted to get back to Michael Pena real quick,
And yeah,
just without giving any spoilers away for the 2 newbies. The next Ant-Man movie, he may do his montage retelling once or twice again. And I was gonna say, in the post credits, the whole I know a guy. Joel, you tell me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that's the first time that they mentioned it, and that is a little through line there's a in several movies after this, you'll just hear a random,
I know a guy.
I know a guy.
Oh, that's cute.
And-
It
and
pops
in
up
every-
a lot.
And in every mob movie.
But
Yeah.
the interesting thing here,
Oh,
Mark,
right.
is that Falcon saying "I know a guy" is directly tied into this movie.
Well, yeah.
So he's referencing this,
Yeah,
And then Ant-Man will be back.
like the James Bond.
yes.
Okay, post-credit sequence. Hank shows Hope the wasp suit, and she says it's about damn time. And I thought the same thing. And then Falcon and Captain America are detaining the Winter Soldier, and I know a guy, which we just said, which I assume we're going to get to next week. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next week we're back to Captain America. This time it's Civil War, which begins phase 3. Now, I don't see why this was a big phase 2 ending. What kind of phase 2 ending was this?
I
What did
I don't quite get how he decides exactly what
Phases?
movies, yeah, or how the phases work, or what the thematic through line is, because you would think that, oh, Age of Ultron, big movie, great place
Yeah,
to end
course.
things,
Yeah.
but no,
course, yeah.
we're gonna give you Ant-Man to end things with. You know, at the end of the
Maybe-
day, it's 23 movies that are just interconnected, and you know, we're done.
Maybe his grand plan wasn't so grand after all.
Possibly.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I don't really see phases in what we're watching.
Yeah.
no,
It's just
not at all.
23 movies, like you said.
Yeah.
No, and yeah, like you said, I consider it lead up to Avengers 1, lead up to Avengers 2, and then lead
Yeah.
up to Avengers 3 and 4.
It's like
And
the superfluous title cards that Zack Snyder put into his Justice League cut.
We're not
It's like,
going there.
I'm gonna,
No.
yeah, we're gonna for 1 second. I'm gonna put in this title here. It says part 1, and then part 2. I think I had to get up and pee around here, so this will be part 2.
So you
Same
watched
thing.
it.
I did, yes.
So
But
the,
that's-
let's not sidetrack.
I'm not.
The, but I mean, really, the idea even to have 23 movies at some point, now we're kind of stalled because of the pandemic, but they've already filmed, right, the Black Widow movie.
Well, Black Widow technically was the start of phase 4, but obviously there's enough give and take in things that the start of phase 4 was able to become WandaVision, because that would have come, we would have had Black Widow and the Eternals before we got the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then WandaVision.
Oh.
So we gotta now, after this, we have to watch TV shows.
You don't have to, but you're going to want to.
All right, thank you all for being here. Say
Bye,
goodbye.
everybody.
Bye.
Say goodbye.
Bye.
Hey, say goodbye.
Bye.